Welcome to our channel, your gateway to the most spine-chilling tales and unnerving true stories. Today, we present a true story. Echo Lake Horror. The haunting of Alex. The sun dips below the horizon, casting a warm embrace over Echo Lake. The air is thick with the scent of pine and the promise of a night untouched by the pollution of city lights. Alex, a young adult with a heart yearning for adventure, navigates the winding dirt path leading to the campsite they've chosen. Their backpack, filled with the essentials of a weekend retreat, thuds rhythmically against their back with each step. The small city they left behind feels like a distant memory as they breathe in the cool mountain air, a stark contrast to the stale office air that usually fills their lungs. The journey to this tranquil oasis has been a long time coming. Months of meticulous planning, hours of online research, and countless daydreams of a quiet escape from the cacophony of urban existence. Echo Lake is a place they've heard whispers about, a place where the stars are said to kiss the earth, and where the whispers of the forest hold secrets to quiet the restless mind. The lake itself, a mirror to the heavens, reflects the fiery dance of the setting sun. The water, a serene canvas, ripples gently with the occasional splash of a curious fish and the whisper of the evening breeze. Alex's eyes light up at the sight of their destination, a secluded clearing just steps from the water's edge. They've arrived at the perfect spot to set up camp. With meticulous care, they lay out their tent, a cozy fortress of nylon and fiberglass, staking it into the earth with a sense of pride. The sound of fabric stretching and snapping into place echoes through the stillness of the woods. The crackle of the firewood, as they prepare their campfire, joins the symphony of crickets and distant owls. Alex is in their element, the solitude a balm to their soul. As the first stars begin to appear, shyly peeking through the deepening purple sky, a figure emerges from the tree line. Alex, their attention drawn to the movement, squints into the semi-darkness. A man, perhaps in his early 40s, wearing a stained white t-shirt and generic swimming shorts, watches them from afar. His posture is non-threatening, but his eyes hold a curious intensity that sends a shiver down Alex's spine. The man's presence is like a drop of ink in a glass of water, spreading unease through the tranquil scene. Alex waves, a reflexive gesture of friendliness bred from a lifetime of polite interactions. The man, however, does not return the gesture. Instead, he nods, a single acknowledgement of Alex's existence before his gaze drifts away to the lake. His eyes linger there, lost in a world unseen by the newcomer. Ignoring the prickle of fear, Alex decides to be the bigger person. They approach him, a tentative smile on their face. "Hi there," they say, their voice a little too loud in the quiet. "I'm Alex. I've got a spot over there if you need one." The man turns, a slow deliberate movement that seems to stretch the fabric of the moment. His eyes are the color of the fading light, a piercing gray that seems to hold the shadows of 1,000 unspoken secrets. "Thanks," he murmurs, his voice a raspy whisper, "but I've got my own spot." He gestures vaguely into the dense forest, and Alex can't help but feel a twinge of relief. They nod, retreating to their campfire, trying to shake off the disquiet that clings to them like the evening dew. The man's eyes follow them, a silent sentinel. Alex busies themselves with their camping chores, the mundane task of organizing their supplies and cooking dinner a welcome distraction. The fire casts a warm glow, pushing back the encroaching darkness. The aroma of sizzling sausages fills the air, mingling with the smoky scent of the fire. As the night deepens, the mysterious man remains at the edge of their vision, a silent spectator. Alex tries to ignore him, focusing instead on the crackling flames and the comforting sound of their own voice, recounting tales of past adventures to the night sky. But every time they glance up, his eyes are there, watching, unblinking. Their campfire is a beacon in the wilderness, a warm and welcoming sight. The flames dance and flicker, casting eerie shadows that play across the man's face, highlighting the lines of age and hardship etched into his features. His stare is unwavering, his intentions unreadable. Dinner eaten, the fire burns low. Alex decides to retire to their tent, seeking the safety of their own space. They glance over their shoulder one last time, but the man has vanished. The forest, once a silent witness to their arrival, now seems to hold its breath, waiting. Inside the tent, the darkness feels thick and alive. The sound of the zipper closing is final, a declaration of retreat from the unsettling encounter. Alex lies awake, listening to the whispers of the night, their heart thudding in their chest like a drum. The quiet is shattered by a rustle of leaves, the crunch of a twig. Alex sits up, their eyes straining to pierce the gloom. The flap of the tent opens, and the man is there, his silhouette stark against the moonlit forest. "You should leave," he says, his voice a low growl. "You don't belong here." Fear clutches at Alex's throat, but they find their voice. "What do you mean?" they ask, trying to keep the tremor from showing. The man steps closer, his eyes gleaming in the dim light. "This place, it has a way of changing people." With that cryptic warning, he turns and disappears into the night, leaving Alex alone with their racing thoughts. They lie back down, their mind a tumult of doubt and fear. They try to convince themselves it's just the imagination playing tricks, a side effect of too many campfire horror stories. But as the night deepens, the sounds of the forest seem to change. The gentle whispers become murmurs, the innocent rustling of leaves, the shuffling of unseen creatures. The man's words echo through the fabric of the tent, a haunting lullaby that lulls Alex into an uneasy sleep. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm amber glow over Echo Lake as Alex, the intrepid protagonist, tightened the last guy line of their tent. The gentle whisper of the breeze through the trees and the distant call of a loon had once promised a night of tranquil solitude. Yet, the air now hummed with a tension that was palpable, thick like the mist, slowly creeping up from the water's edge. The mysterious man Alex had met the previous evening had vanished into the dense woods like a ghost at dawn, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and a deep sense of unease. His image was burned into Alex's mind. The unkempt beard, the intense gaze that pierced through the gathering shadows, and the way his t-shirt clung to his body, stained with what could have been sweat or something far more sinister. As the campfire crackled to life, casting flickering shadows across the campsite, Alex couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The hairs on the back of their neck stood on end, as if an invisible hand had gently brushed against them. They glanced over their shoulder, but the perimeter remained unchanged, just the rustling leaves and the whispering trees. The night grew colder, and the stars began to emerge, dotting the sky like a canvas of diamond dust. Alex huddled closer to the fire, the warmth a feeble defense against the creeping chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. They decided to occupy themselves with the task of cooking dinner, hoping the mundane activity would ease their mind. While the food sizzled over the open flame, Alex heard the first unexplained sound, a twig snapping not far from the tent. They turned, their heart racing, but saw nothing but darkness beyond the fire's glow. They told themselves it was just an animal, one of the many inhabitants of the forest, but deep down, they knew it was something else, something that didn't belong. The meal finished, Alex cleaned up, their eyes never straying far from the surrounding shadows. They retreated to the tent, zipping the flap closed with a shaky hand. The cramped space was a prison of fabric and nylon, trapping the fear that grew with every rustle outside. The following morning brought a new set of puzzles. Items around the campsite had been moved, a water bottle knocked over, the camp chair repositioned, and the pile of firewood disturbed. The footprints that surrounded the perimeter were unmistakably human, but the lack of any other campers made the presence all the more unsettling. Determined to find answers, Alex ventured into the nearby town of Pinewood to ask about the man and the local history of the area. The townsfolk spoke in hushed tones of a string of unsolved disappearances that had plagued the region for decades, all centered around Echo Lake. There was talk of a vengeful spirit that roamed the woods, seeking retribution for a past injustice. The legend spoke of a lumberjack who had met a grisly end in the forest, his spirit forever bound to the place of his demise. The townsfolk's words lingered in Alex's mind as they returned to the campsite, now under the watchful eye of the midday sun. Yet, even the warm embrace of daylight couldn't dispel the shadows of doubt. They decided to investigate further, equipped with a map of the area and a newfound sense of purpose. The dense forest surrounding the lake was a labyrinth of trees, each one whispering secrets that Alex longed to understand. They followed the trail of the lumberjack's legend, a path worn by the curious and the brave, or perhaps by the doomed. The underbrush grew thick, the air grew still, and the light filtered through the canopy in a way that painted the forest floor in an eerie dance of light and shadow. Deeper into the woods, the signs of the watcher grew more apparent: snapped branches, disturbed leaves, and the faint scent of something foul lingered in the air. Alex paused, their breath shallow, their heart racing. They knew they weren't alone. The sun dipped lower in the sky, and the shadows grew longer. Alex stumbled upon an abandoned cabin, its windows shattered, the door hanging ajar. It was a relic of a bygone era, a silent witness to the secrets of the forest. Inside, they found remnants of past lives, tattered clothes, a dusty journal, and a photo of a smiling family that had once called the place home. The journal spoke of the lumberjack's fate, a man driven mad by the loss of his family in a tragic accident. His grief had transformed him into something otherworldly, his spirit forever trapped in the woods, seeking to claim others in his despair. Alex felt a presence behind them, the weight of a gaze that seemed to bore into their very soul. They whipped around, but the cabin remained empty, or so it seemed. The chill of the room sent a shiver down their spine, and they realized they had to leave. Back at the campsite, the tension had reached a crescendo. The mysterious man watched from the shadows, his eyes burning with a feral intensity. Alex's every movement was met with a rustle, a snap, a whisper that seemed to echo the lumberjack's mournful cries. The night descended like a shroud, cloaking the forest in darkness. Alex sat by the fire, the flames casting an orange halo around them. The man was out there, somewhere in the blackness, watching, waiting. As the hours ticked by, the unseen observer grew bolder. The whispers grew louder, the sounds of movement closer. Alex's mind raced with thoughts of the legend, of the lost souls claimed by the vengeful spirit. And then, the moment of truth. The man emerged from the shadows, his eyes wild, his beard unkempt. But there was something more: a palpable anger, a deep-seated pain that seemed to radiate from his very being. He approached the fire, his hand outstretched, not in greeting but in a silent demand. Alex stared into the abyss of his gaze, the weight of the man's sorrow pressing down upon them. They saw the reflection of the lumberjack in his eyes, a mirror of the tormented soul that had once roamed these woods. The man spoke, his voice a gruff whisper that seemed to carry on the very wind. "You're not safe here," he warned. "Leave before it's too late." But Alex was not so easily swayed. They had come to find peace, and they would not be driven away by fear. "What do you want?" they asked, their voice steady despite the tremble in their chest. The man's expression softened, a flicker of humanity in the storm of his grief. "To be seen," he replied. "To be heard." The night grew still, the only sound the crackle of the fire and the distant hoot of an owl. Alex knew that to leave was to abandon this lost soul to its eternal torment. And so, they decided to stay, to listen, and perhaps to find a way to help. As the fire dwindled to embers, the man began to weep, his shoulders heaving with the weight of his sorrow. Alex reached out a tentative hand, offering what little comfort they could. And in that moment, the veil between the living and the dead grew thin, and the spirit of the lumberjack was revealed. The spirit spoke of his grief, his anger, and his regret. Alex, with empathy and courage, offered words of solace, sharing their own tales of loss and pain. They spoke until the first light of dawn began to seep through the trees, painting the campsite in a soft, ethereal glow. The spirit of the lumberjack looked upon Alex with something akin to gratitude before slowly fading away. The tension that had gripped the air released its hold, and the forest once again felt like a sanctuary rather than a prison of fear. The sun rose over Echo Lake, casting a new light upon the world. Alex sat by the smoldering campfire, the watcher no longer a source of dread, but a memory of a shared burden lifted. They had faced the unknown and found kinship in the most unexpected of places. Their life had begun with the arrival at dusk, but it was in the breaking of the dawn that Alex discovered their true strength. The journey ahead was uncertain, but they knew that they would face it with an open heart and the knowledge that even in the darkest of places, there could be found a spark of human connection. The moon, a silver sentinel in the velvet cloak of night, casts a pale glow over Echo Lake, its tranquil surface undisturbed, save for the occasional flutter of leaves dancing upon the water. Alex, nestled in their tent, lies wide-eyed and restless, the soft symphony of crickets and distant owls failing to lull them into the embrace of slumber. The events of the previous days have woven a tapestry of fear around their heart, each thread pulled taut with the unraveling mystery of the man in the white shirt. The quietude of the night is suddenly pierced by a faint, almost imperceptible sound, a whisper, a sigh, a secret shared by the very fabric of the forest itself. It tickles the edges of Alex's consciousness, a ghostly murmur that seems to resonate from the very earth beneath their sleeping bag. The fire, now a collection of embers, flickers with an erratic energy, as if it too were whispering the secrets of the woods. With a jolt, Alex sits up, their heart hammering a frantic tattoo against their ribcage. The whispers grow louder, more insistent, echoing through the trees like the sighs of lost souls. The campfire, now a shadowy dance of light and dark, seems to pulse with the rhythm of the whispers, throwing eerie shapes upon the canvas of the tent. The protagonist's curiosity, now fully piqued, overpowers their fear. They slip into their shoes, grab a flashlight, and unzip the tent flap. The cool night air brushes against their face, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and pine. The whispers beckon, a siren's call from the heart of the forest. Alex steps out into the night, the light from their flashlight cutting a solitary path through the darkness. The forest floor, a mosaic of moonlit leaves and shadows, crackles underfoot as they follow the siren's tune. The trees, ancient guardians of the wood, lean in as if to hear the whispers more clearly, their branches swaying gently in the breeze. The whispers grow clearer, more defined, yet no less haunting. They seem to speak in a language long forgotten, a dialect of the natural world that Alex cannot comprehend. Deeper into the woods they tread, the whispers now a cacophony that fills their ears. The forest seems to close in around them, the path they had taken becoming less distinct, the trees more densely packed. The flashlight beam trembles, the shadows it casts seeming to twist and coalesce into forms that flit at the periphery of their vision. Yet, the whispers guide them onward, a lure they cannot resist. The whispers lead Alex to a clearing, a natural amphitheater where the trees part like a curtain to reveal a tableau of spectral light. Here, the moon's glow is at its brightest, bathing the area in a soft luminescence that seems to amplify the ethereal whispers. In the center of the clearing, a solitary figure stands, back turned, wearing the very same stained white t-shirt and nondescript swimming shorts that had haunted Alex's days and nights. The whispers crescendo as Alex approaches, the figure remaining still, unresponsive to their presence. The whispers coalesce into a single, clear word, repeated over and over again. Remember, the figure turns slowly, and the face revealed is not that of the mysterious man, but a reflection of Alex, twisted and distorted by the shadows and light. The protagonist gasps, their hand flying to their mouth to stifle the sound. The figure, now with 100 eyes and 100 mouths, each speaking the same word in unison, steps closer. Remember, it is a command, a plea, a warning. The whispers grow to a fever pitch, the air around them thickening with an electric charge. Panic sets in, and Alex turns to run, but their legs feel heavy, as if rooted to the spot. The whispers follow, now a chorus of voices, all speaking in unison. Remember, the ground beneath them shakes, the trees around the clearing seem to lean in, the whispers now a crescendo that threatens to shatter the very fabric of reality. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, the whispers cease. The figure in the clearing vanishes, leaving Alex alone in the sudden silence. The moon, once a beacon, now seems to hang low and heavy, casting the forest into an eerie calm. The protagonist's heart races, the silence deafening. They stumble back to their campsite, the whispers echoing in their mind. The tent, once a haven, now feels like a prison, a cocoon of doubt and fear. As they crawl back into their sleeping bag, the whispers slowly fade, leaving behind a question that hangs in the air like mist over the lake. What is it that they are supposed to remember? The embers of the campfire smolder, the shadows playing upon the tent walls like silent sentinels. Alex lies awake. The whispers of the forest, now a mournful lullaby, a constant reminder of the unseen world that has intruded upon their solitary retreat. The mystery of Echo Lake deepens, and the line between reality and legend blurs. The next morning, Alex is greeted by the dawn, a canvas of pinks and oranges that seems almost too bright, too cheerful, in contrast to the dark whispers of the night. They break camp with trembling hands, the whispers of remember still echoing in their thoughts. The lake, once a source of peace, now mirrors the turmoil in their soul. Determined to uncover the truth, Alex decides to delve further into the local lore, seeking answers in the whispers of the townsfolk and the dusty pages of forgotten tomes. The journey ahead is fraught with danger and the unknown, but Alex is driven by an unyielding curiosity that has been kindled by the whispers in the dark. Alex packing their gear, the whispers of the night now a fading memory, yet the promise of revelation fuels their resolve. The serenity of Echo Lake is shattered, the tranquility of the woods now a facade for the secrets it holds. As they walk away from the campsite, the forest seems to hold its breath, watching, waiting for the next chapter in the unfolding tale of whispers and shadows. The fourth day at Echo Lake dawned with an eerie quietude, the kind that seemed to have a heartbeat of its own. Alex, still unnerved from the whispers in the night, awoke to the realization that the mysterious man in the white shirt had not returned. They packed their gear with trembling hands, the campfire barely a smoldering ember from the night before. With a deep breath, they set out to explore the trail they had discovered in the dark, hoping it would lead them to answers. The path was narrow and overgrown, as if it hadn't been traversed in years. The forest's dense canopy allowed only a few shards of sunlight to pierce through, casting a mottled glow on the forest floor. The whispers of the night had left an indelible mark on Alex's psyche, and every rustle of leaves or snap of a twig echoed through the trees like the footsteps of the unseen. The air was thick with the scent of decaying vegetation, mingled with the faint metallic tang of fear. The first abandoned campsite was a sad tableau of forgotten dreams. A tent lay in tatters, its poles snapped like brittle bones. The fire pit was cold, filled with the remnants of a meal long since picked over by scavengers. A few personal items remained, a half-empty bottle of sunscreen, a crumpled map, a child's teddy bear with one button eye missing. Alex felt a pang of sorrow for the unknown campers who had once called this place home, if only for a night. They took a moment to respectfully gather the remnants and pile them in a neat stack, a silent tribute to those who had come before. As they ventured further, the trail grew more pronounced, as if beckoning them deeper into the woods. The second campsite was more disturbing than the first. Here, the tent had been shredded, as if by some wild animal, but the lack of animal tracks suggested something more deliberate. The camping gear was scattered, and a sense of violent haste permeated the air. The fear grew palpable, a living entity that clung to Alex's skin like a damp shroud. The third campsite was the most chilling yet. The fire pit was a charred black crater, the remnants of a fierce bonfire that had consumed everything in its path. Tattered pieces of fabric clung to the trees like the last vestiges of a fiery dance. The whispers grew louder here, a cacophony of desperate pleas and unanswered calls. Alex felt a strange compulsion to move on, a primal instinct urging them not to linger where darkness had so recently dwelt. Finally, the trail led to a clearing, the forest parting like a curtain to reveal a macabre stage. At its center stood an ancient, twisted tree, its bark rotted and peeling like the flesh of a long-dead giant. Around it, A ring of smaller trees bore the scarred initials of the lost, a grim tapestry of names and dates etched into their bark. The monument of lost souls was a silent scream of despair, a stark reminder of the price paid for venturing too far from the safety of the known. Alex approached the tree with a mix of awe and trepidation. The whispers grew to a crescendo, their voices a cacophony of pain and anger. It was as if the very essence of the missing campers had been absorbed into the wood, each mark telling a story of a life cut short. They reached out a trembling hand to touch the bark, and the whispers grew silent, the forest holding its breath in anticipation. As their fingers grazed the gnarled wood, a vision overtook them. They saw a montage of scenes, each more horrific than the last. Families torn apart, friends vanishing into the shadows, solitary figures wandering lost in the dark. The tree pulsed with malevolent energy, its roots reaching out like grasping fingers, seeking new prey. The final vision was the most terrifying. The man in the white shirt, his eyes hollow and empty, standing in the same spot where Alex now stood. The whispers grew to a fever pitch, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. The tree's branches bent and writhed, reaching for Alex, eager to claim another soul. With a cry, Alex snapped out of the trance, the vision dissipating like mist in the morning sun. They stumbled back, their heart racing. The whispers grew distant once more, retreating into the shadows of the forest. They knew now that they were not alone in their pursuit. The man in the white shirt was another pawn in this ancient game of terror. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of crimson and gold. Alex had to make a choice: leave the forest and the horrors it held, or continue down the trail of the lost, risking their own sanity and safety. With a steely resolve, they turned back towards the campsite, knowing that they could not rest until they had uncovered the truth behind the whispers and the mysterious disappearance of those who had come before. The trek back was a blur of fear and determination. The whispers grew fainter with each step, the forest reclaiming its secrets with the onset of night. As they reached the safety of their camp, the man in the white shirt emerged from the gloom, his eyes meeting Alex's with a knowing look. He didn't speak, but the message was clear. The hunted had become the hunted. The moon casts a silver glow over Echo Lake, illuminating the calm surface of the water as Alex lay in their tent, heart racing. The whispers grew from a gentle rustle to a persistent murmur, as if 100 voices whispered secrets just beyond the veil of understanding. The trees swayed with the whispers, their branches brushing against the fabric of the tent like ghostly fingers seeking entry. Alex sat up, their breathing shallow, their eyes scanning the shadows. They reached for their phone, the cold plastic offering a semblance of comfort in the otherwise warm, oppressive night. The screen lit up, revealing a series of blurry photos from their nocturnal investigation. The images were chaotic, with twisted trees and a figure that danced at the edge of the camera's focus, always just out of reach. With trembling hands, Alex opened the tent flap, peering into the night. The campfire had burned to embers, casting a warm, flickering light across the campground. The man in the white t-shirt was there, closer than ever before, his eyes gleaming like two embers in the dark. His mouth moved, the whispers growing clearer, but the words remained a jumble of sound, a language lost to time and fear. Determined to capture this elusive evidence, Alex stepped out into the night, the crunch of gravel underfoot echoing through the quiet. They held their phone up, the camera's digital eye eager to capture the truth. But as they approached the figure, it retreated, beckoning with a gesture that was at once inviting and terrifying. The whispers grew louder, the shadows dancing with each step Alex took. Alex followed the figure into the dense forest, the moon's light swallowed by the canopy above. The path grew narrow, the underbrush thick and unyielding. Each snap of a twig and rustle of a leaf seemed to carry the weight of 100 untold secrets. The figure led them to the monument of lost souls, the clearing a stark contrast to the claustrophobic forest. The air grew colder, heavier with each step closer to the ancient, rotten tree. The whispers grew to a cacophony, a symphony of lost voices that filled Alex's ears, their heads spinning with the weight of untold tragedies. Standing before the tree, Alex felt a presence, a force that seemed to emanate from within. The whispers grew clearer, individual voices weaving together to form a cohesive narrative of pain and despair. The man in the white shirt was gone, but his energy remained, a spectre of his former self. The phone in Alex's hand grew hot, the screen flickering with static. They knew they had to record this, had to show the world what haunted these woods. But as they pressed the button to begin filming, the device died in their grasp. The screen went black, leaving them in darkness. Panic set in, the whispers now a cacophony of mocking laughter. Alex stumbled backward, tripping over a root that seemed to appear from nowhere. They fell, the cold earth biting into their skin. The whispers grew louder, closer, the shadows shifting and contorting into monstrous shapes that danced around the tree. "Who are you?" Alex shouted into the night, their voice trembling with fear. The shadows grew still, the whispers ceased, the darkness parted, and a figure emerged from the tree's embrace. It was the man in the white shirt, but his eyes had gone hollow, his smile a twisted grimace. He reached out a hand, the shadows coalescing around it, forming a twisted, gnarled branch. "I am the keeper of the forgotten," he rasped, his voice a blend of the whispers that had plagued Alex's nights. "You sought me out, and now you shall be part of the story." Alex scrambled to their feet, their thoughts racing. They knew they had to find a way to escape, to break the cycle of fear that had ensnared so many before them. They remembered the stories of the vengeful spirit, the one who sought solace in the eternal whispers of the lost. They took a deep breath and stepped forward, extending their hand to meet the keeper's branch. "I am not here to be forgotten," Alex said with a steely resolve that surprised even themselves. "I am here to remember." The branch shuddered, the shadows retreating, the man's eyes filled with a spark of curiosity, his smile softening into something almost human. "You wish to remember?" "Yes," Alex replied, their voice firm. "To honor those who have been lost, to give them peace, and to ensure that their stories are told." The man's gaze searched Alex's, the whispers fading into the background. He nodded slowly, the tension in the air dissipating. "Very well," he said, his voice a gentle breeze through the leaves. "But beware, for the forest does not easily give up its secrets." The keeper led Alex deeper into the woods, the whispers guiding them to the resting places of the lost. Each site was a testament to a life cut short, a story untold. They found tokens of the missing, a locket with a faded photograph, a torn page from a journal, a child's toy. As they collected these mementos, the shadows grew restless, the whispers growing louder in protest. The keeper turned to Alex, his eyes alight with a fierce protectiveness. "You must leave now," he said. "Their anger is growing. They do not wish to be remembered." Alex knew he was right. The forest was a prison for these lost souls, and their intrusion had stirred something dark. They gathered their things and made their way back to camp, the whispers fading into the night as they retreated. The journey back was fraught with terror, the shadows seemingly alive, reaching out to grab them at every turn. But with the keeper's guidance, they made it back to the safety of their tent. The sun was beginning to rise, painting the horizon with streaks of pink and gold. Alex sat by the embers of their campfire, the tokens of the lost scattered before them. They knew what they had to do: tell the stories, give voice to the whispers. They took a deep breath, the warmth of the new day washing over them, and felt a strange sense of peace. The keeper remained, watching from a distance, his figure fading with the shadows as dawn broke. "Remember," he whispered one last time before vanishing completely. Alex packed their things, the whispers now a distant memory, as they drove away from Echo Lake, the sun casting long shadows on the road ahead. They knew they would never forget the night they spent in the company of shadows. They had faced their fears and found a purpose, to be the keeper of stories that needed to be told. Alex with a profound sense of responsibility and a newfound connection to the world beyond the mundane. The whispers may have been silenced for now, but the echoes of the lost campers would live on, carried by the wind through the trees and whispered in the hearts of those who dare to listen. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with a palette of fiery oranges and deep purples. Echo Lake grew still, reflecting the last embers of the day's warmth onto the tranquil surface. Alex sat by the crackling campfire, the only source of light in the enveloping darkness of the forest, feeling the weight of the eerie silence that had settled around them like a cloak. The whispers from the night before had given way to an unnerving quiet, as if the very trees were holding their breath. The flickering light from the flames danced across the pages of the well-worn journal that lay open in their lap. It was John's journal, the former park ranger, whose story had been uncovered in the local historical society. Each word, etched with fear and desperation, whispered of a fate Alex had hoped was not their own. The pages spoke of a man much like themselves, once drawn to the peaceful embrace of the wilderness, only to find it a prison of shadows and unspoken secrets. John's words transported Alex back in time, to when the ranger had first arrived at Echo Lake. His initial fascination with the whispering woods had soon turned to dread. The first entry spoke of a quiet night much like this one, where the tranquility was shattered by the same spectral figure. Alex had encountered a man in a stained white shirt, lurking just beyond the edge of the firelight. John had tried to dismiss it as a trick of the mind, a figment born from his own solitude. But as the days turned to weeks, the apparition grew bolder. John's entries grew frantic as the figure grew more persistent. He spoke of feeling eyes upon him in his every waking moment, of the strange occurrences that plagued his camp, his supplies disturbed, his tent ransacked, and the whispers that grew from a gentle breeze to a cacophony of voices that seemed to echo from every direction. The woods, once a sanctuary, had become a prison, and the man in white, his jailer. Guided by John's meticulous notes, Alex retraced the ranger's steps through the labyrinthine forest, the whispers following like a chorus of lost souls. The path grew steeper, the trees more twisted, until finally, they reached the clearing where John had discovered the monument of lost souls. The sight was hauntingly beautiful, a silent testament to the lives claimed by the woods. As Alex touched the decaying tree at the center of the monument, they felt a strange kinship with John. It was as if the tree's ancient bark whispered his secrets into their soul. The journal entries grew more frequent, the handwriting more erratic. John had become obsessed with the white-shirted figure, believing it to be the key to understanding the dark heart of the forest. The final pages of the journal revealed John's ultimate revelation. The figure was not a mere hallucination or vengeful spirit, but a guardian, a night watchman of sorts, ensuring that no one uncovered the terrible truth of Echo Lake. The whispers were the cries of those lost to the forest, bound to it by an ancient and malevolent force. The tree was the nexus of this power, and John had vowed to free them all. Back in the present, the fire grew low, and the whispers grew to a crescendo. The man in white emerged from the shadows, closer than ever before. His eyes, once hidden by the murky night, now bore into Alex with a fierce intensity. He extended a hand, beckoning them to follow. The decision was clear: embrace the madness and walk into the abyss, or fight the pull of the forest's curse. Summoning every ounce of courage, Alex stood before the watcher, the journal clutched tightly in their hand. They read aloud John's final words, a plea to the lost souls for understanding and peace. The whispers grew to a deafening roar, the shadows swirling like a tornado of despair. The watcher's form flickered, and for a brief moment, Alex caught a glimpse of the tormented faces of the lost campers. With a trembling voice, Alex called out to the spirits, promising to share their story and end the cycle of fear. The whispers subsided, and the forest grew silent once more. The watcher's form solidified, and a sadness filled his eyes. He nodded solemnly and gestured towards the monument. Alex followed the watcher's lead, their heart racing as they approached the ancient tree. With trembling hands, they placed the journal at its base, a symbolic offering to those trapped within. As the last page fluttered to the ground, the whispers grew faint, and the shadows retreated. The tree's bark began to pulse with a soft, ethereal light, and the spirits of the lost started to rise, their forms transparent and shimmering. The watcher's hand rested upon Alex's shoulder, and together, they watched as the spirits ascended into the night sky. The weight of their sorrow lifted, leaving behind a profound sense of peace. The forest breathed a sigh of relief, the trees seeming to lean in closer, as if to thank them for releasing their long-held burden. As the last spirit disappeared, the watcher turned to Alex. His image began to waver, and the journal at their feet grew brighter. With a final nod, he merged with the light, becoming one with the tree. The whispers grew faint, and the light faded, leaving Alex standing alone in the clearing, the journal now pulsating with an otherworldly energy. In the quiet that followed, Alex knew that they had become the new guardian of Echo Lake. The whispers of the lost had chosen them to carry on John's legacy. They picked up the journal, now theirs to protect, and felt the weight of their new responsibility. The whispers would no longer be cries of despair, but whispers of guidance, ensuring that no other soul suffered the same fate. Alex made their way back to the camp, the watcher's presence a comforting presence at their side. The whispers had ceased, and the forest felt alive once more, the maliciousness of the night watchman replaced by a gentle embrace of gratitude. They knew that they would never be truly alone in these woods, for they were now a part of its eternal tapestry. As dawn broke, Alex sat by the lake, the gentle ripples lapping at their feet. The night had left them changed, forever bound to the forest and its secrets. The whispers of the lost had become a part of them, a reminder of the delicate balance between the living and the dead. With the sun's first light, Alex faced the inevitable choice: leave the forest behind, returning to their mundane life, or embrace their new role and protect the campers that would come seeking refuge in the woods. The echoes of the past whispered through the trees, and the ghosts of Echo Lake watched, waiting for their decision. Alex looked down at the journal, now a symbol of their connection to the forest. They knew they could not abandon those who had chosen them. They decided to stay, to become the new night watchman, ensuring that no camper would ever again face the same fate as John. And so, as the story changed and campers came and went, Alex remained, a silent sentinel in the shadows. They watched over the woods, guiding lost souls to peace and sharing the story of the whispers with those who were ready to listen. The legend of the night watchman grew, a beacon of hope in the otherwise quiet woods. The sun had barely crested the horizon when Alex woke with a start, the cold sweat of a restless night clinging to their skin. The whispers had been more persistent than ever, weaving a tapestry of dread that had suffocated any hope of peaceful slumber. The campfire's embers had long since faded, leaving the forest in a cloak of misty silence. After a quick breakfast of granola bars and water, Alex set out to piece together the last fragments of the puzzle. The chill in the air had a bite that seemed to echo the lake's haunting whispers. The trees loomed tall and ancient, their branches intertwining to form a canopy that held secrets of the past. Armed with John's journal, Alex retraced their steps to the clearing with the makeshift monument. The decayed campsites whispered of forgotten lives and untold horrors, each one a silent sentinel of the Watcher's wrath. The rotten tree at the center of the clearing beckoned, its gnarled roots reaching out like skeletal fingers. As Alex approached the tree, the whispers grew to a crescendo, the air thick with anticipation. The journal trembled in their hand as they read John's final entry, detailing his encounter with the vengeful spirit. The spirit, once a camp counselor named Daniel, had drowned in the lake decades ago during a night of foul play by his cruel colleagues. His soul, trapped in a limbo of anger and despair, sought retribution for his untimely death. The connection to the lost campers grew clear. Each had stumbled upon this same spot, drawn in by the spirit's guise of a friendly fellow camper. Their laughter and joy had been twisted into a twisted symphony of despair, luring them to the lake's murky embrace. Alex felt a weight on their conscience. They had to put an end to this cycle of torment. But how could they face a force that had eluded all others? The whispers grew fainter, as if the spirit was retreating, biding its time. With a newfound determination, Alex returned to their campsite and gathered their gear. The forest watched them, the trees whispering secrets to one another as they passed. The lake's surface was as still as glass, reflecting the mood of the heavens above. At the water's edge, Alex paused, the journal's words echoing in their mind. To free Daniel's spirit, They had to right the wrongs of the past. They had to find the truth and give him the peace he deserved. Diving into the frigid water, Alex descended into the inky depths, the whispers now a chorus in their ears. The lake's bottom was a graveyard of lost treasures, each item a testament to a life cut short. A glint of metal caught their eye, a ring, its inscription faded, but legible, to Daniel, forever in our hearts. Surfacing with the ring, Alex felt a strange kinship with the doomed camp counselor. They knew now what they had to do. They had to confront the spirit and reveal the truth behind its torment. As nightfall approached, Alex built a new campfire, the flames casting an eerie glow over the lake. The whispers grew louder, the anticipation palpable. The white-shirted figure emerged from the woods, a silent spectre with a sad smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "You found what I've lost." Daniel's ghostly voice resonated through the trees. "I have," Alex replied, holding up the ring. "But I know what happened to you, Daniel. It's time for you to move on." The spirit's smile faltered, and for a moment, the facade dropped. The rage that fueled him for so long bubbled to the surface, his eyes burning with an otherworldly fire. "They took everything from me." Daniel's voice was a howl of anguish. "My life, my love, my dignity. They've paid for their sins," Alex said firmly. "Their souls are long gone, as should yours be." The spirit hesitated, the flames of the fire flickering in his eyes as he contemplated the truth. The whispers grew softer, as if the lost campers were watching, holding their breath. Alex told Daniel's story, recounting the night of his death, the cruel prank gone wrong, and the guilt that had consumed his former friends. They spoke of the pain left behind, the unanswered questions, and the lives forever changed by one moment of senseless cruelty. The ghost of Echo Lake listened, his form flickering like a candle in the wind. The anger that had sustained him began to wane, replaced by a profound sadness. He reached out, his hand passing through the ring as he took it back. "Thank you," Daniel murmured, his voice a mere echo of its former power. "I can finally rest." The campfire roared to life, its flames leaping skyward. As the spirit of Daniel lifted from the ground, the ring clutched in his ghostly hand. The whispers grew to a crescendo, then faded away, leaving only the gentle hum of the night. Alex watched as Daniel's spirit ascended, the light from the fire casting him in a warm glow that seemed to cleanse the darkness from his soul. The mist cleared, revealing a starlit sky that had been hidden by the veil of his rage. The next morning, Alex packed their gear, the heaviness of the night's events weighing on their shoulders. As they left the campsite, they felt a strange sense of peace settle over the forest. The whispers were gone, replaced by the soft rustle of leaves and the distant call of an owl. The drive home was a blur of thought and reflection. Alex had found more than just a story at Echo Lake. They had found a purpose. They had given voice to the voiceless and laid to rest a spirit that had wandered for too long. Back in the safety of their small city apartment, Alex placed the journal and the ring on their nightstand, a solemn reminder of the unseen world that existed just beyond the veil of the mundane. They knew they would return to the lake, to the quiet whispers of the trees and the gentle embrace of the water. But for now, the ghost of Echo Lake was at peace. The cycle was broken, and the forest could finally heal. The whispers had led Alex to a deeper understanding of themselves and the power of empathy and truth. And though the night had been dark, the dawn had brought a light that would forever change their world. The end of the story was written in the stars above, a silent testament to the courage of one lost soul and the strength of the human heart. The ghost of Echo Lake had found its peace, and Alex, forever changed, had found their place in the grand tapestry of life's mysteries. The story closed with the promise of new beginnings. The lake's surface a mirror reflecting a brighter future. The whispers of the past finally silenced. The final night at Echo Lake had arrived, and with it, the crescendo of the horror that had been building since Alex's first encounter with the unseen. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow upon the lake surface. The air grew thick with anticipation, the whispers of the forest swelling into a crescendo that seemed to resonate with the very core of Alex's soul. The campfire crackled and danced, casting flickering shadows upon the walls of the tent, which had become a symbol of refuge in this realm of the inexplicable. Alex sat cross-legged on the damp earth, a copy of John's journal in hand, the pages yellowed and brittle with age. The candlelight flickered off the sweat beads on their forehead, illuminating the lines of determination etched on their face. The words of the last entry echoed in their mind. The only way to end this is to face it. The whispers grew louder, closer, until they seemed to be right beside Alex. They could feel the breath of the spirit on the back of their neck, sending a shiver down their spine. The white-shirted figure materialized at the edge of the clearing, his eyes burning with a malevolent intensity that seemed to penetrate the very fabric of reality. Alex took a deep, shaky breath and stepped out of the tent, the crunch of gravel beneath their boots punctuating the silence. The figure remained still, watching Alex with an unblinking gaze. Alex held out the journal, the pages fluttering in the cool breeze that had picked up. "John," they called out, their voice trembling but steady. "I know what happened here. I know what you've become." The spirit's form flickered, and for a brief moment, Alex caught a glimpse of the man he had once been. The sorrow in his eyes was palpable, a stark contrast to the rage that had consumed him. "You know nothing," the spirit's voice echoed through the trees, a chorus of lost souls speaking in unison. "I know enough," Alex said firmly. "I know you're trapped here, bound by your anger and pain. I know the souls you've taken are trapped with you." The figure took a step forward, his form growing more substantial. "And what makes you think you can set us free?" "Because," Alex said, drawing a symbol from the journal in the dirt with a trembling hand, "I've seen the pain you hide, the injustice that was done to you and the others. I've felt the pull of this place, the same pull that brought John to his end. But I won't let it claim me. I won't let it claim anyone else." The makeshift ritual was simple but powerful, drawn from the pages of John's journal and the whispers of the lost campers whose spirits were trapped in the lake. Alex lit a series of candles, each one representing a soul taken by the vengeful spirit. They placed them in a circle around the rotten tree, the heart of the curse. The shadows grew longer, reaching out like the grasping hands of the damned. With each candle lit, the whispers grew softer, the pressure in the air dissipating. The spirit's rage seemed to wane, replaced by a profound sadness that was almost tangible. Alex spoke the words of the incantation, their voice clear and steady, despite the tremor in their heart. As the final candle was lit, a sudden gust of wind extinguished them all. The forest grew still, the silence deafening. Alex looked up, expecting to see the spirit advancing, but instead, they saw the figure slowly dissolving into the air, the shadows retreating into the lake. The first light of dawn began to break through the canopy of leaves, casting a soft glow upon the clearing. The whispers had ceased, and the malevolent presence was gone. The lake's surface was calm, reflecting the new day without a ripple. Alex looked around, the reality of what they had just experienced sinking in. The ritual had worked, the spirits were free, and the curse had been lifted. But as they packed up their gear, they couldn't shake the feeling that part of them had been left behind in the woods. The hike back to civilization was bittersweet. The beauty of the forest seemed to have lost its luster, replaced by the haunting echoes of the night's events. Each step was a reminder of the burden they now carried, the knowledge that there were things in the world that defied explanation, things that could not be contained or controlled. Upon returning to the city, Alex tried to resume their normal life, but the whispers of Echo Lake followed them home. They were never quite as loud as they had been in the forest, but they were there, a constant reminder of the unseen world that existed just beyond the veil. Alex decided to visit John's widow, to share what they had learned and perhaps find some closure. Her eyes filled with tears as she listened to the story. The weight of the years lifted slightly from her shoulders. "Thank you," she whispered. "John can finally rest." In the quiet of their apartment, Alex often found themselves staring out the window, the whispers of the forest a gentle reminder of the responsibility they now bore. They had faced the malevolent spirit and won, but at what cost? The encounter had left them with a profound sense of loneliness, an understanding that they were now an outsider, forever changed by their brush with the paranormal. Months passed, and the whispers grew fainter, until they were just a memory. Yet, Alex knew that the spirit of Echo Lake was not entirely gone. It lived on in their mind, a part of them now. They had faced the unseen and survived, but the experience had left an indelible mark. The last scene showed Alex sitting by the window, the soft glow of the setting sun painting the room in shades of orange and gold. They reached into their pockets and pulled out a small stone, a memento from their time at the lake. As they turned it over in their hand, the whispers grew faintly audible once more, a reminder of the power that lay just beyond the edge of the known world. The camera panned out, the whispers fading as the city's sounds grew louder. The story of Echo Lake had come to a close, but the whispers of the forest remained, a quiet testament to the unseen world that existed all around them, waiting for the next traveler to stumble upon its secrets. Thank you so much for joining me on this cinematic journey. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Have you experienced a spine-chilling horror that left you trembling? Share your terrifying tale with us by emailing nightmarenetwork@hotmail.com, and we'd be thrilled to feature it on our platform. Until next time, happy movie watching.